The morning sun peeked through the blinds of William Carter's apartment in Washington, D.C. He had not slept well. The messages from the Galactic Council had arrived late last night, and they were not good news. Another human ship had been lost. William sighed as he got out of bed. At 55 years old, his body still moved with the precision of his military days, but the weight of his current role as Earth's ambassador to the stars felt heavier than any pack he had ever carried. Camimiro, unit on his bedside table, blinked with urgency. It was a priority call from President Susan Martinez. William answered immediately. "Mr. Ambassador." The president's face appeared, her expression grim. "I assume you've read the reports about the Curiosity?" "Yes, Madam President. All hands lost. 42 scientists and crew." William kept his voice steady, but anger burned inside him. "The Zorak are claiming it was an accident, a regrettable navigation error." The president's eyes narrowed. "We both know that's a lie." William nodded. The Curiosity had been a science vessel, studying a rare stellar phenomenon in neutral space. There was no reason for it to be destroyed. No reason except to send a message to humanity. Know your place. "We've tolerated this treatment for too long," President Martinez continued. "The unfair trade deals, the territorial violations, the condescension. Earth united behind our entry into the Galactic Council because we believed in a peaceful future among the stars. But for 80 years we've been treated like children at the adults' table." William walked to his window, looking at the rebuilt skyline of Washington. Earth had survived its own wars, its own near destruction, only to find new challenges among the stars. "What are your orders, Madam President?" he asked, though he already suspected what was coming. The Security Council met through the night. The vote was unanimous. She paused. "We're done with diplomatic protests that get filed away and ignored. We're done with accepting apologies that mean nothing. The Zorak and their allies on the Council need to understand that humanity will no longer be pushed around." William turned from the window. "You want me to threaten war?" "Not threaten, Mr. Ambassador. Promise it." The president's face was resolute. "Unless our demands are met, full renegotiation of all treaties, equal status on the Council, and accountability for the Curiosity massacre." William considered the implications. In the 200 years since first contact, humanity had been careful. They had hidden their true capabilities, presented themselves as less advanced than they were. The Council species believed humans were still struggling with basic interstellar travel, when in fact, Earth's secret fleets were already positioned throughout Council space. "The Council won't take this seriously," William said. "They think we're weak." "That's their mistake," President Martinez replied. "Operation Shadow Fleet is already in motion. Our ships are moving into position as we speak. Our allies among the non-Council worlds have been quietly informed." William felt a chill. This was really happening. After decades of preparation, humanity was ready to show its true face to the galaxy. The diplomatic vessel Determination will be ready in 3 hours, the president continued. "Your team has been assembled. Patricia Johnson will be your chief advisor. Colonel Alan Wright will serve as military attaché, and Dr. Olivia Thompson will join as your xenobiologist." William nodded. A solid team. Patricia was the smartest diplomat he knew. Alan understood warfare better than any officer in the fleet, and Olivia had spent her life studying the biology of Council species, understanding their weaknesses and strengths. Once you arrive at the Citadel, you'll likely be made to wait. They'll try to humiliate you, as usual. The president's voice hardened. "But when you finally address the Council, you will make our position clear. Either they recognize us as equals, or they face war with Earth and our coalition partners." "And if they call our bluff?" William asked. "It's not a bluff, Mr. Ambassador. The full might of Earth stands behind you. Our fleet captains have sealed orders. If the Council rejects our terms, we strike first and we strike hard." William walked to his closet and removed his formal diplomatic uniform. The silver and blue of Earth shimmered in the morning light. "I understand, Madam President, I won't fail Earth." "I know you won't, William." Her tone softened slightly. "You've served Earth faithfully for 30 years. You understand what's at stake." After the call ended, William dressed slowly, his mind racing with thoughts of what was to come. His apartment's AI system announced another visitor. It was Patricia Johnson, his chief advisor, arriving earlier than expected. She entered his apartment, her usual calm demeanor replaced with barely contained excitement. "Did the president brief you?" she asked without preamble. "Yes. We're going to war unless the council meets our demands." Patricia smiled slightly. "The council has no idea what's coming. Their intelligence on us is laughably bad. They still think we're using fusion drives when we've had dimensional slip technology for 40 years. William nodded. "That was always the plan. Appear weak while building strength. "The Zorak delegates will be the most resistant," Patricia said, pulling out her data pad to show the latest intelligence. "They've been the primary beneficiaries of the unfair trade agreements. But the Meldari might support us. They've always been more fair-minded." William studied the information. "And our coalition partners? The Novan Collective has already mobilized their fleet. The Tarsian republics are standing by. Several other non-council species have pledged support as well. They've all suffered under council domination." William took a deep breath. "So this isn't just about Earth anymore." "It never was. This is about remaking the galaxy into something better, something fairer." Patricia's eyes shone with conviction. "The council has ruled for 12,000 years. Maybe it's time for a change." 3 hours later, William stood at the loading bay of the Determination. The sleek diplomatic vessel gleamed in the sunlight. It looked like a standard human ship, but William knew its true capabilities were far beyond what the council believed possible. Colonel Wright approached, his military uniform crisp and formal. "All systems are go, Mr. Ambassador. The ship is ready, and so is the fleet." William nodded. "Let's hope we don't need them." Dr. Thompson joined them, her data pad filled with biological information on all 17 council species. "I've updated our profiles on council members, physiological stress indicators we should watch for during your address." William looked at his team. The best Earth had to offer. Behind them, the crew of the Determination prepared for departure. "The next few days will change the course of human history," William said quietly. One way or another. Together they boarded the ship. As the bay doors closed, William took one last look at Earth. Blue, beautiful, and stronger than any council species knew. They had underestimated humanity for the last time. The Determination lifted off, accelerating through the atmosphere toward the stars, and toward a confrontation that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The Determination emerged from its final dimensional jump with barely a shudder. The massive Citadel station hung in space before them, a marvel of alien engineering that had stood for over 12,000 years. Its crystalline spires and massive rings rotated slowly against the backdrop of a blue-green nebula. William Carter stood on the bridge, his face giving away nothing as he stared at the seat of galactic power. The Citadel was home to the Galactic Council, the ruling body that had governed interstellar affairs since before humans had invented the wheel. "Impressive, isn't it?" Patricia Johnson said, joining him at the viewport. "No matter how many times I see it, it still takes my breath away." William nodded. "A shame we may have to destroy parts of it before this is over." Patricia gave him a careful look. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." The communications officer called out from her station. "Ambassador, we're receiving docking instructions from Citadel Control. They're directing us to the auxiliary diplomatic bays." William's jaw tightened. Another insult. The auxiliary bays were normally reserved for non-council species or minor delegations. Earth, despite being a council member, was once again being treated as lesser. "Acknowledge their instructions," William said calmly, "but inform them that as representatives of a full council member, we expect proper diplomatic protocols to be observed." The officer nodded and transmitted the message. After a tense minute, the reply came. "They say all primary diplomatic bays are currently occupied," the officer reported, her discomfort evident. Colonel Wright snorted. "A lie. Our scans show 3 primary bays empty right now." William smiled thinly. "It seems the games begin already. Except the auxiliary bay, we have more important battles ahead." The Determination docked smoothly in the smaller bay. As the team prepared to disembark, Dr. Thompson approached with her datapad. "I've uploaded everyone's neural translators with the latest council dialects," she said. "But remember, Ambassador, they don't know you can understand High Galactic without assistance." William nodded. It was one of many things the council species didn't know about humans. The translation devices most species used were unnecessary for humans who had studied the complex language. It would be a small but effective surprise when the time came. The Citadel's artificial gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth standard as they stepped off the ship. The reception party waiting for them consisted of only junior diplomatic staff, another calculated slight. A tall, thin alien with pale blue skin stepped forward. "Welcome to the Citadel Earth delegation. I am Third Secretary Jix of the Diplomatic Corps. I will escort you to your waiting area." William nodded politely, pretending not to notice the absence of senior officials. "Thank you, Third Secretary. We appreciate your assistance." As they walked through the massive corridors of the Citadel, William observed the other species they passed. Representatives from dozens of worlds moved about with purpose. Some nodded in acknowledgement of the human delegation. Others pretended not to notice them at all. "The emergency session begins in 4 hours," Third Secretary Jix informed them as they reached a small chamber. "You will be called when the Council is ready to hear Earth's concerns." After the Citadel staff left, Colonel Wright checked the room for surveillance devices. He found 6 and disabled 4, leaving 2 active but feeding them false information. "Standard procedure," he said. "They always spy on delegations." Patricia pulled up a holographic display of the Citadel's layout. "The council chamber is here," she pointed. "Our position is intentionally far from it. They'll make us walk the longest route possible, past as many delegations as they can. It's meant to make us feel small." William smiled. "Then we'll use it to our advantage." "Alan, how are our fleet movements going?" Colonel Wright checked his secure device. "All ships in position, cloaking systems engaged. Operation Shadow Fleet is complete. Council space is now filled with Earth vessels they cannot detect." "And our allies?" William asked. "The Novans have their battle groups at these key junctions." Wright indicated several points on the map. "The Tarsian Republic ships are positioned near the main Council worlds. If the vote goes against us, we can disable the entire Council fleet before they know what's happening." Dr. Thompson looked up from her studies. "I've been monitoring the news feeds in the Citadel. Most species still believe the destruction of the Curiosity was an accident. The Zorak propaganda has been effective." William walked to the window, overlooking the central ring of the Citadel. "They've always been good at lying, and the Council has always been willing to believe lies about humanity." A soft chime indicated someone at the door. Patricia opened it to find a small, gray-skinned alien with large, dark eyes. "Ambassador Carter," the alien said in a whisper. "I am Nix, aide to the Meldari delegation. My superior wishes to speak with you privately before the council session." William nodded. The Meldari were known for their neutrality and fairness. They were one of the few council species that had treated humans with respect. "Lead the way," William said. Colonel Wright moved to follow, but William stopped him. "Just me. We need to show trust to gain trust." Nix led William through a series of less-traveled corridors until they reached a small garden area. Waiting there was Elder Vex, the Meldari representative to the council. "Ambassador Carter," Elder Vex said, his voice melodic. "Thank you for coming. I felt I should warn you the council has already decided its response to your complaint." William wasn't surprised. "Let me guess. They will express regret for the accident, offer some token compensation, and remind Earth of the developmental aid package they've so generously provided." Elder Vex's large eyes blinked in confirmation. "You understand their methods well. The Zorak delegation, led by High Lord Vazrik, has been particularly vocal. He called your species." The Meldari hesitated. "Primitive apes?" William suggested. "It's not the worst thing we've been called." "The council does not understand humans," Elder Vex said. "They see your peaceful approach as weakness, your acceptance of past insults as proof of inferiority." William looked at the ancient alien. And what do the Meldari see? Elder Vex was quiet for a moment. We see a young species that has survived its own violent past, a species that learns quickly, that watches and waits. The Elder's voice dropped even lower. A species that may be hiding its true nature. William smiled but said nothing. Whatever you plan to say to the council today, Elder Vex continued, know that there are some of us who will listen with open minds. I appreciate the warning, Elder, William said with a respectful bow, and your wisdom. As William returned to his team, he felt the weight of Earth's future on his shoulders. In 3 hours, he would stand before the Galactic Council and change the course of history forever. The time for playing the humble newcomer was over. It was time for the galaxy to learn who humans really were. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched upward for hundreds of meters, its walls made of a shimmering crystal that caught and reflected light in a dazzling display. 17 massive platforms hovered at different heights around the chamber, each holding the delegation of a council species. At the center stood the High Chancellor's podium, currently occupied by Thrix of the Valsharan confluence, his insect-like form draped in ceremonial robes. William Carter and his team were led to the human platform, purposely positioned lower than all others and smaller in size, another reminder of Earth's status as the newest and least respected member of the council. Quite the setup, Colonel Wright whispered, his eyes scanning the room with military precision. Designed to make the junior members look up to their betters. William nodded slightly but kept his face neutral. They were being watched by thousands of eyes, both biological and mechanical. Everything about this chamber was meant to inspire awe and submission. It had worked on countless species across the millennia. It would not work on humans. The emergency session of the 12th 483rd Galactic Council is now in session, announced a mechanical voice. As per protocol, delegations will be recognized in order of their membership tenure. William settled in for a long wait. As the newest member, Earth would speak last. It was a deliberate tactic, forcing them to sit through hours of proceedings before being allowed to present their case. Most EU species would be exhausted or frustrated by then. The council counted on it. The Zorak delegation spoke first, their massive reptilian forms towering over their platform. High Lord Vazrik, his scales gleaming with precious metals and gems, addressed the chamber. Esteemed colleagues, he began, his voice deep and resonant. We have been called to this emergency session because of an unfortunate accident in the Mira sector. The human science vessel Curiosity was lost due to a navigational error that brought it near an unstable stellar formation. William felt his blood pressure rise, but he kept his expression calm. Patricia Johnson touched his arm gently, a reminder to stay focused on their plan. The Zorak Empire extends its sympathy to Earth for this tragic loss, Vazrik continued. We offer a compensation package of 50,000 galactic credits per human life lost, in accordance with Council regulations for non-central species. Dr. Thompson made a small noise of disgust. The sum was insulting. Central species received compensation of at least 1 million credits per life in similar incidents. One by one, the other delegations spoke. Most expressed polite regret for the accident and praised the Zorak for their generous offer. Some used the opportunity to suggest that perhaps humans weren't ready for deep space exploration without supervision. After 4 hours, William had listened to 16 speeches, all of which subtly or openly belittled humanity. The chamber had grown restless. Many delegates were clearly eager to conclude the session and move on to more important matters. Finally, High Chancellor Thrix turned his compound eyes toward the human platform. Now, we shall hear from our youngest members regarding their concerns. William stood slowly. Dr. Thompson handed him the translation device that all non-central species were expected to use. William took it, looked at it for a moment, then set it aside. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Was the human going to speak in his primitive Earth language? How undignified. But when William opened his mouth, the words that flowed out were, in perfect High Galactic, the ancient and complex language of the Council's ruling elite. Every click, trill and tonal shift was executed flawlessly, something the Council believed impossible for human vocal cords to achieve. "Esteemed High Chancellor," William began, his perfect pronunciation causing stunned silence throughout the chamber. "Honored representatives of the Council, I stand before you not merely to discuss an unfortunate accident, but to address a deliberate act of war against Earth." The silence broke into shocked exclamations. William continued, his voice cutting through the noise. "For 80 years, humanity has endured condescension, exploitation, and violations of our sovereignty. We have filed complaints that were ignored. We have accepted apologies that meant nothing. We have watched our resources stripped away through unfair trade agreements." William activated a holographic display. Evidence began to appear. Hundreds of documented treaty violations against Earth and human colonies over the past 5 decades. The destruction of the Curiosity was no accident. William's voice hardened. "Our vessel was targeted with Jorak weapons. We have the sensor data to prove it." High Lord Vazrik rose to his full height. "This is outrageous. The human clearly doesn't understand." "I understand perfectly," William interrupted him, an act so shocking that several delegates gasped. No one interrupted a High Lord of the Jorak. "Just as I understand that 4 other Council species approved this attack beforehand." William revealed the next piece of evidence: intercepted communications between the Zorak and their allies, discussing the removal of the human presence in the Mira sector. High Chancellor Thrix banged his ceremonial staff. "Ambassador Carter, these are serious accusations. The Council has procedures for such grievances." "We've followed your procedures for 80 years, William cut him off. "Another unprecedented breach of protocol. While you've systematically undermined human sovereignty and security." The chamber erupted in noise. Some representatives laughed, believing this to be some human misunderstanding of diplomatic protocol. Others reacted with genuine alarm at the humans' audacity. William waited for the noise to die down. When it didn't, he pressed a small device on his wrist. Suddenly, the chamber's sound systems went silent. Another impossibility. Council systems were supposed to be unhackable. In the stunned silence that followed, William's voice rang out clearly. "We are not here to file another complaint to be ignored or to accept hollow apologies." He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with various representatives. "I am here with a message from United Earth. It's time for war." The silence shattered. Delegates leapt to their feet in outrage or shock. Security drones moved toward the human platform but stopped suddenly, their systems offline. "Ambassador Carter," High Chancellor Thrix's voice trembled with rage. "You cannot come into these sacred chambers and threaten the Council with war. Such an action is unprecedented in 12,000 years." William smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "Many things about today are unprecedented, Chancellor, including this." He activated another display. Suddenly, every delegate's personal data terminal showed the same information. Detailed files revealing their complicity or willful ignorance regarding the mistreatment of Earth. "Human intelligence has been far more effective than any of you suspected," William said, his voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "We know which of you approved the attack on the Curiosity. We know which of you have been stealing technology from our colonies. We know which of you have been sabotaging our trade routes." The chamber fell completely silent as the implications sank in. If humans had gathered this much intelligence without detection, what else might they be capable of? William stood tall, on the small human platform, no longer looking up at the other species but somehow seeming to look down on them all. "We came to the stars in peace," he said. "But we will not be victims." The council chamber remained silent for several long moments. William Carter stood firm on the human platform, his declaration of war hanging in the air like a physical thing. Patricia Johnson and Colonel Wright flanked him, their postures equally. Resolute High Chancellor Thrix was the first to recover. His staff struck the floor 3 times, the traditional call for order. "Ambassador Carter," he said, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Surely you misspoke. War is not declared in these chambers. The Council has procedures for grievances." Did not misspeak, William said calmly. And I did not come here to file a grievance, I came to deliver an ultimatum. Murmurs spread through the chamber again. The human was using words and actions with no precedent in council history. Many delegates looked confused, some looked afraid. High Lord Vazrik of the Jorak rose again, his massive form trembling with rage. This primitive species dares to threaten the council? The combined might of 17 advanced civilizations? The arrogance is astounding. William smiled thinly. It is not arrogance, Lord Vazrik. It is the inevitable result of your actions. You believed humans to be weak. You believed we would accept any treatment. You were wrong. William nodded to Dr. Thompson, who activated another holographic display. This one showed a three-dimensional map of council space. Small points of light appeared throughout the map. As we speak, William continued, human warships have moved into position throughout council territory. The chamber erupted again. Shouts of impossible and lies echoed from various platforms. The Jaxiri delegate, a small avian creature, chirped in alarm. Our sensors would have detected such movements. Colonel Wright spoke for the first time, his military bearing imposing even from the small platform. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, nothing more. William gestured, and the map zoomed in on the space around the citadel itself. More points of light appeared surrounding the station. The human fleet currently has weapons locked on this very chamber, William said. We could end this council's 12,000-year rule with a single command. High Chancellor Thrix's compound eyes widened. You would not dare attack the citadel. It would mean the end of your species. Would it? William asked. He changed the display again, showing detailed schematics of council defense systems. We know every weakness in your defenses, every backdoor in your security protocols, every blind spot in your sensor networks. The Meldari delegate, Elder Vex, spoke up. If what you say is true, Ambassador Carter, why come here at all? Why not simply attack? William turned to the elderly alien with respect. Because humanity does not want war, Elder Vex. We want justice. We want equality. We have prepared for war because history, both ours and the galaxy's, has taught us that peace must sometimes be secured through strength. William walked to the edge of the platform, looking directly at High Chancellor Thrix. We present the following terms. Complete renegotiation of all treaties between Earth and Council species. Full reparations for past violations. Accountability for those responsible for the Curiosity Massacre. And equal status on the Council, including equal positioning of our platform in this chamber. The Vasudan representative, a being of living crystal, chimed in disbelief. You threaten war over the height of your platform? The platform is symbolic of our treatment, Patricia Johnson answered smoothly. If you cannot even acknowledge us as equals in your seating arrangements, how can we trust you to treat us as equals in matters of trade, territory, or security? William continued. If these terms are rejected, Earth will immediately sever all diplomatic and economic ties with the Council. We will form an alliance with other exploited species, many of whom have already pledged their support. This caused another stir. Several council members looked at each other in alarm. The idea that humans had been forming secret alliances was disturbing. You have 48 galactic standard hours to decide, William concluded. During this time, the human fleet will remain in position around all our territories and strategic locations. High Chancellor Thrix slammed his staff down harder than before. This is blackmail, coercion. It violates every principle of council governance. Does it? William asked quietly. Or does it simply use your own tactics against you? For decades, you have coerced and blackmailed Earth into accepting unfair terms. The only difference is that now we have the strength to resist. High Lord Vazrik snarled, his sharp teeth gleaming. The Council will never bow to human demands. We have faced rebellions before. We have crushed species far more advanced than yours. William's face hardened. Perhaps, but you have never faced humans before. He pressed another button on his wrist device. Suddenly, every light in the chamber dimmed for exactly 3 seconds before returning to normal. Council members looked around in confusion and fear. That was a demonstration, Colonel Wright explained. Our ships just temporarily disabled the Citadel's main power grid. We could have targeted life support instead. The implications were clear. Somehow humans had technology capable of bypassing the Citadel's legendary defenses. We did not want this confrontation, William said, his voice echoing in the shocked silence. We came to the stars seeking friendship and cooperation. Instead, we found exploitation and contempt. We adapted, as humans always do. Dr. Thompson stepped forward. The choice is yours, esteemed council. Peace as equals, or war against an enemy. You clearly do not understand. William nodded to his team. Without waiting for dismissal from the High Chancellor, another breach of protocol, they turned and began walking toward the exit. This session is not concluded, High Chancellor Thrix called after them. You cannot simply leave. William paused and looked back. We can, and we will. You have 48 hours, use them wisely. As the human delegation left the chamber, the council erupted into chaos. Species that had coexisted in rigid hierarchy for thousands of years now faced a threat unlike any they had encountered before. In the corridor outside, Patricia whispered to William. That went exactly as planned. William nodded. Phase 1 complete. Now we wait to see if they're wise enough to choose peace. Colonel Wright checked his secure device. All ships report ready, Ambassador. If they choose war, then they will learn what humanity is truly capable of. William finished grimly. The human delegation walked through the Citadel, aware of the shocked stares following them. The news was already spreading throughout the station. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had challenged the Galactic Council itself, and somehow, against all logic, they appeared to have the power to back up their challenge. News of the human ultimatum spread through the Citadel like wildfire. William Carter and his team were escorted back to their ship, the Determination, under the watchful eyes of increased security. Not that the security forces could do anything, if the humans decided to act. That had been made painfully clear. As they walked, William noticed representatives from non-council species watching them with new expressions, not fear or contempt, but something that looked like hope. Back aboard, the Determination, William called a meeting with his team. The ship's conference room was secure against all known forms of surveillance. They could speak freely here. Well, Patricia said, settling into her chair. That certainly got their attention. Colonel Wright nodded, his face grim but satisfied. The fleet reports all systems nominal. If the council rejects our terms, we're ready. Dr. Thompson was reviewing data on her pad. I recorded physiological responses from all council species during your speech, Ambassador. The fear was real, especially after the power demonstration. William looked out the viewport at the gleaming Citadel. And now we wait. The most difficult part. The waiting wasn't long. Within an hour, their ship received visitors. This time, it wasn't junior diplomatic staff but representatives from several non-council species who had observed the session. A tall, gray-skinned being with 4 arms stepped forward. I am Lox, Prime Speaker for the Novan Collective, he said in lightly accented English. We would like to express our support for Earth's position. Behind him stood representatives from the Tarsian Republics, the Orion Federation, and 4 other marginalized civilizations. All had suffered under council rule for centuries or millennia. We've been watching Earth since your species joined, the galactic community, said the Tarsian representative, a short, stocky being with metallic skin. You were different from the start. Different how? Patricia asked. You questioned everything, the Tarsian replied. Most new species are so overwhelmed by council technology and power that they accept whatever terms are offered. You humans smiled and nodded, but your eyes were always watching, always analyzing. William invited them to sit. We learned early, on that the council was not the benevolent organization it claimed to be. Lox nodded. The council has ruled through fear and technology for 12,000 years. They maintain their power by keeping other species divided and dependent. Which is why we've been forming our coalition, William said. Earth may be young by galactic standards, but we understand the power of allies. Meanwhile, in emergency chambers throughout the Citadel, the 17 council species argued fiercely about how to respond to the human ultimatum. Special meetings of the military committee had been called after disturbing reports came in. Human fleets had indeed deployed to strategic positions throughout council space. Somehow they had moved undetected by the most advanced sensor networks in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" demanded the Jaxiri admiral, her feathers puffed in distress. "Our sensors should have detected their engine signatures." The military analysts had no answers. Humans had always been thought to use standard fusion drives for their ships, technology the Council had mastered thousands of years ago. But these ships showed no fusion signatures at all. In the scientific committee, more shocking information was being processed. Dr. Olivia Thompson had requested a meeting with several scientific representatives. What she revealed stunned them into silence. "Dimensional physics?" the chief Valsharan scientist repeated, his compound eyes blinking rapidly. "But that's purely theoretical. No species has been able to apply it practically." "Humans have," Dr. Thompson said simply. She displayed a small device on the table. "This is a dimensional slip drive. It's what allows our ships to move undetected through council space." The scientists stared at the device in disbelief. "But this would mean humans are far more advanced than you believed," Dr. Thompson finished for him. "Yes, we've been developing this technology in secret for 40 years, while presenting outdated technology for council inspection." "Why reveal this now?" asked a Meldari scientist. "Because we want you to understand what war with Earth would really mean," Dr. Thompson replied. "And because we've already shared this technology with our coalition partners." This news spread quickly to the council chambers, where debate grew even more heated. Several species now argued for accepting the human terms immediately. Others, particularly the Zorak and their closest allies, insisted that humans must be bluffing. Even with this new technology, they cannot possibly stand against our combined might. High Lord Vazrik insisted. "Are you willing to risk the lives of billions to test that theory?" Elder Vex of the Meldari asked calmly. As the 48-hour deadline approached, William received a message from High Chancellor Thrix requesting his presence at a private meeting. Patricia advised caution. "It could be a trap," she warned. William shook his head. "They're not that foolish, not after our demonstration." The meeting took place in a neutral chamber. The High Chancellor had brought representatives from 5 of the most powerful council species. William came alone, a show of confidence that was not lost on the council members. "Ambassador Carter," High Chancellor Thrix began, his voice subdued compared to his earlier outrage. "We have considered your terms." William waited silently. "While the council cannot be seen to submit to threats," Thrix continued carefully, "we are prepared to open negotiations for a new relationship between Earth and the council." "Not just Earth," William corrected. "Our entire coalition must be part of these negotiations." The Chancellor's mandibles clicked in irritation, but he nodded. "Very well, but in return you must withdraw your fleet from council space." William smiled. "The fleet will withdraw to non-threatening positions once the negotiations begin, but they will remain ready until agreements are signed." Back on the Determination, William shared the news with his team. Colonel Wright looked disappointed. "So, there will be no war after all," he said. "War was never the goal," William reminded him. "Just the leverage we needed to force change." Dr. Thompson looked thoughtful. "Do you think they'll honor any new agreements?" "They will," Patricia said confidently, "because they now know the cost of betrayal." As William prepared for the formal response to the council, he received another visitor. It was Elder Vex of the Meldari. "You have changed the galaxy today, Ambassador," the elderly alien said. "In 12,000 years no one has done what you did." William nodded. "Humans have a saying, Elder Vex, peace through strength. We came to the stars seeking friendship, but we came prepared for the alternative." "And now?" Elder Vex asked. "Now we build something better. A true coalition of equals, not masters and servants." When the council reconvened 2 days later, The human platform had been raised to equal height with all others. It was a small change, but deeply symbolic. As William Carter took his place, he saw fear in many eyes, but also something new. Respect. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage not as supplicants but as equals. Not through submission, but through strength and unity. And if any species forgot the lesson learned today, the human fleet remained, ready to remind them.